Okay, so now we're going to be talking about the lateral spinothalamic tract. This particular tract picks up nociception. Again, nociception can be painful, but it's in its most basic sense. It doesn't mean pain, it means some sort of harmful stimulus. So that could be a chemical stimuli, that could be damage from light UV rays. Often painful, but it doesn't mean pain specifically. It means bad stimuli. The other thing that the lateral spinothalamic tract picks up is temperature, okay, temperature sensation. So this again is going to be a 3-order neuron pathway. It's very similar to what you learned about in the dorsal column medial lemniscus, except for one big difference. And the big difference is the decussation point. This particular pathway does not decussate at the medulla. This particular pathway actually decussates in the spinal cord. Other than that, it's very similar to what you learned before. So let's assume that we were starting out and we just stepped on a pin on the bottom of the big toe, okay? The bottom of the big toe on the left-hand side, okay? So I'm going to just write down big toe, and it's at the bottom. Well, we know that this is still going to start with a receptor, but this time it is a nociceptor, which is a different type of receptor to a normal sensory receptor. It's also known as a free nerve ending. Okay? These are interchangeable terms. They're both the specific receptor type for nociception. Okay, you get thermoreceptors for temperature, but these are the type of receptors that you would get for nociception. So I've just stepped on something sharp with my big toe on the bottom on the left-hand side. So a nociceptor is going to find that stimulus. That is going to initiate an action potential. The action potential is passed like a football along the axon of the first order neuron. So again, that axon is going to travel and it's going to come up my leg, okay? And because it's at the bottom of my big toe, that's my S1 dermatome. So it's going to enter into the dorsal root and it goes to the posterior gray horn, okay? Or the dorsal horn. And here, it is going to it's going to synapse with my second order neuron, and the second order neuron again is the one that is going to decussate and continue across. So it basically travels down to the opposite side. This is the spinothalamic pathway where the neurons are carried, and then that's going to travel all the way up through the medulla, through the pons, the midbrain, and it's going to go to the thalamus, okay? So it's going upwards. So the medulla, the midbrain, and the pons, it still passes through these points, okay? But it doesn't synapse here, it doesn't decussate here, it just goes through, okay? But at the VPL of the thalamus up here, what you find is that you've got your second and third order neuron synapsing, okay? It's still at the VPL of the thalamus, and that is then still going to project into the primary somatosensory cortex in the parietal lobe, okay? So all the structures are the same. You've got 3 neurons, that is also the same, but what is different is that this, instead of being a sensory receptor, this is a nociceptor, and you've got your decussation point in the spine at the level of entry. So let me recap again. I have stepped on something sharp on the base of my big toe. This is on the left-hand side. So that stimuli activates either, you can call it a free nerve ending or a nociceptor. That initiates an action potential which travels like a football along the axon of that first order neuron, and you see it traveling up through my skin. Because it's at the base of my big toe, this is going to be S1 level. It enters in through the dorsal root and it goes to the dorsal horn or the posterior gray horn, whatever you want to call it, and you've got a synapse there between the first order and the second order neuron. The second order neuron decussates down to the area of the lateral spinothalamic tract where the axons are carried, and then it travels. It's now on the right side, so it's traveling contralaterally up all the way through the spine, all the way through the medulla, no stopping, the pons, the midbrain, up to the thalamus. And at the VPL of the thalamus, we have again the synapse, or the passing over of action potential between the second and third order neuron. The action potential is passed like a football along the axon of the third order neuron, ending again in the primary somatosensory cortex, which is located in the parietal lobe. As this was on the left side of the body, it ends up in the right side of the brain.